Hi guys, hi ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome back to a new channel, a new episode of my learning English journey. In this episode, I'm going to read for at least, I'll try to read at least for 2 hours continuously. Uh, I will be reading out loudly, and I have decided that I'll be reading the book named Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. So I'll be making mistakes, so I'll be trying to read it slowly. And I wanted to show this is like this in this video. It's like I am trying to learn myself how to I am trying to improve my English. So and this is a challenge which I have given to myself, that in 365 days I want to learn and become very fluent and self-confident in speaking English and converse and in having conversation with anyone. So what I am going to do is I'll just tell you the time now. So it's 8:20 p.m. and it is Tuesday 9 September. So without any delay, let's start the video. So I have here the book. The book name is Alchemist, the by Paulo Coelho. So it is very famous book. I haven't read this book, so this is my first time. I will try to read in around 1 or 2 hours. I will try to read for 2 hours, and let's see like how the improvement goes on in around 365 days coming. So I want to start with the starting, so I am not reading this. One second. Shit. So it's a free application, so for that it's coming. It's okay. We'll wait and continue. Okay, we'll go down. Okay, this is forward. I don't want to read. Okay, so part one will start from here. The boy name was Santiago. Dusk was falling as the boy arrived. If I can track this. Okay, while I am reading the corner paragraphs, I will do it something like this. So for the time being, I will keep it full. The boy name was Santiago. Dusk was falling as the boy arrived. So you can note the time. It's 2022. So I'll be reading and taking break for 15 minutes around from 21:22. So continue. With his yard and abandoned church, the roof has fallen in long ago, and the enormous sycamore had grown on the spot where the scarcity had once stood. He decided to spend the night there. He saw it that all the sheep entered through the ruined gate and then led some plank across to prevent the flock from wandering. One second, I'll just turn off my lights. He decided to spend night there. He saw to it that all the sheep entered through the ruined gate and then laid some planks across it to prevent the flock from wandering away during the night. There were no wolves in the region, but once an animal had stayed during the night, the boy had to spend the entire next day searching for it. I think we need to do little setup. I'm not able to. Rather, I will do like I'll just minimize this for the time being. I'll drag it here, and I think there is no disturbance as of now. It seems okay. So this looks perfect. Searching for it, he swept the floor with his jacket and lay down using using the books he had just finished reading as a pillow. He told himself that he would have to start reading thicker books. They lasted longer and made more comfortable pillows. It was still dark when he awoke, and looking up, he could see the stars through the half destroyed roofs. I wanted to sleep a little longer, he thought. He had had he had had the same dream that night as a week ago and once again he was awakened before it ended. He arose and taking up his crook, began to awaken the sheep that still slept. He had noticed that as soon as he awoke, most of his animals also began to stir. It was as if some mysterious energy bound his life to that of the sheep with whom he had spent the past 2 years, leading them through the countryside in the search of food and water. They they are so used to me that they know my schedule, he muttered. Thinking about that for a moment, he realized that it could be any other way around, that it was he who had become accustomed to their schedule, but there were certain of them who took a bit longer to awaken. The boy prodded them one by one with his crook, calling each by name. He had always believed that the sheep were able to understand what he said, so there were times when he read them parts of his book, and that had made an impression on him, or when he would tell them of the loneliness or the happiness of the shepherd in the fields. Sometime he would comment to them on the things he had seen in the village they passed, but for the past few days he had spoken to them about only one thing: the girl, the daughter of the merchant who lived in the village. They would reach in about 4 days. He had been to the village only once the year before. The merchant was the proprietor of the dry goods shop, and he always demanded that the sheep be sheared in his presence so that he would not be cheated. A friend had told the boy about the shop. He had taken the sheep there. I need to sell some I need to sell some wool, the boy told the merchant. The shop was busy, and the man asked the shepherd to wait until the afternoon. So the boy sat on the steps of the shop and took a book from his bag. I did not know shepherd knew how to read, said a girl's voice. Said a girl's voice beside him. The girl was typical of the region of Andalusia, with flowing black hair and the eyes of that vaguely recalled the Moorish conquerors. Well, usually I learn more from my sheep than from books, he answered. During the 2 hours that they talked, she told him she was a merchant daughter and spoke of a life in village where each day was like all the others. The shepherd told her of the Andalusian countryside and the related news from the other towns where he had stopped. It was a pleasant change from talking to his sheep. How did you learn to read? The girl asked at one point. Like everyone learns, he said, in school. Well, if you know how to read, why are you just a shepherd? The boy mumbled an answer that allowed him to avoid responding to the question. He was sure that the girl would never understand. He went to telling stories with his travels, and her bright Moorish eyes wide with fear and surprise. As the time passed, the boy found himself wishing that the day would never end, and her father would stay busy and keep him waiting for 3 days. 3 days. He recognized that he was feeling something he had never experienced before: the desire to live in one place forever. With a girl with the raven hair in his days would never be the same again. But finally the merchant appeared and asked the boy to shear for sheep. He paid the wool and asked the shepherd to come back the following year. And now it is only 4 days before he would back in the same village. He was excited and at the time of uneasy. Maybe the girl had already forgotten him. Lots of shepherds passed through selling their wool. It doesn't matter, he said to his ship. I know other girls in other places, but in his heart he knew that it did matter, and he knew that shepherds like seamen and other traveling salesmen always found a town where there was someone who could make them forget of the joys and carefree wandering. The day was dawning, and the shepherd urged his ship in the direction of the sun. They never have to make any decisions, he thought. Maybe that's why they always stay close to me. The only thing that concerned the ship were the food and the water. As long as the boy knew how to find the best pastures in Andalusia, they would be his friends. Yes, their days were all the same, with all seemingly endless hours between sunrise and the dusk. And they had never read a book in their young lives, and didn't understand when the boy told them about the sights of the cities. They were content content with just food and water, and in exchange they generously gave of their wool, their company, and once in a while their meat. If I became a monster today and decided to kill them one by one, they would become aware of after most of the flock had been slaughtered. Thought the boy. They trust me and they have forgotten how to rely on their own instinct because I have learned them to I lead them to nourishment. The boy was surprised at his thought. Maybe the church with the sycamore growing from within. He had been haunted. He has been caused him. It has been caused him to have the same dream for a second time, causing him and it was causing him to feel anger toward his faithful companions. He drank a bit from the wine that remained from the dinner of the night before, and he gathered his jacket closer to his body. He knew that few hours from now, with the sun at its zenith, the heat would be so great that he would not be able to lead his flock across the field. It was the time of the day when all the Spain slept during the summer. The heat lasted until nightfall, and all the time he had to carry his jacket. But when he thought to complain about the burden of its weight, he had remembered that because he had the jacket, he had withstood the cold of the dawn. We have to be prepared for a change, he thought, and he was grateful for the jacket, weight and warm. The jacket had a purpose, and so did the boy. His purpose in his life was to travel, and after 2 years of walking the Andalusian terrain, he knew all the cities of the region. He was planning on this visit to explain the girl how it was that simple. Shepherd knew how to read, that he had attended a seminary until he was 16. His parents had wanted him to become a priest and thereby a source of pride for a simple farm family. They worked hard just to have food and water. Like the sheep, he had studied Latin, Spanish, and theology. But ever since he had been a child, he had wanted to know the world, and this was much more important to him than knowing good and learning about man's sense. One afternoon, on a visit to his family, he had summoned up the courage to tell his father that he did not want to become a priest, that he wanted to travel. People from all over the world have passed through this village, son, said his father. They come in the search of new things, but when they leave, they are basically the same people they were when they arrived. They climbed the mountain to see the castle, and they end up thinking that the past was better than what we have now. Then the blonde hair, the dark skin, but basically they are the same as the people who live right here. But I would like to see the castle and the town the where they live, the boy explained. Those people, when they see our land, say that they would like to live here forever. His father continued, well, I would like to see their land and see how they live. his son. The people who come here have a lot of money to spend, so they can afford to travel. His father said, amongst us, the only ones who travel are the shepherds. Well, then I'll be a shepherd. His father His father said no more. The next day he gave his son a pouch that held the three ancient Spanish gold coins. I found these one day in the field. I wanted them to be a part of your inheritance, but use them to buy your flock. Take to the field, and someday you will learn that our countryside is the best, and our women are the most beautiful. And he gave the boy a blessing. The boy could see his father's gaze and a desire to be able him, himself to travel the world, and desired that he was still alive. Despite his father having to bury it over dozens of years under the burden of struggling for water to drink, food to eat, and same place to sleep every night of his life, the horizon was tinted with red, and suddenly the sun appeared. The boy thought back to that conversation with his father and felt happy. He had already seen many castles and met many women, but none the equal to one who awaited him several days. Hence he owed a jacket, a book that he could trade for another, and a flock of sheep. But the most important, he was able every day to live out his dream. If he were to tire of the Anda, Andalusian Andalusian fields. He could sell his sheep and go to the sea. By the time he had had enough of the sea, he would already have been known other cities, the other women, and the chances to be happy. I couldn't have found God in the seminary, he thought, and he looked at sunrise. Wherever he could, he shot out a new road in the travel he had never been to the ruined church before. In spite of having traveled through those parts many times, the world was huge and inexhaustible. He had only to allow his sheep to set out the route for a while, and then he would discover other interesting things. The problem is that they don't even realize that they are walking a new road every day. They don't see that the fields are new and the seasons change. All they think about the food about is food and water. Maybe we are all that way, the boy mused. Even me. I haven't thought of any other woman since I met the merchant daughter. Looking at the sun, he calculated that he would reach Tarifa before midday. There he could exchange his books for a thicker one, fill his wine bottle, shave, and have a haircut. He would prepare himself for his meeting with the girl, and he did not want to think about possibly that some other shepherd with a larger flock of sheep had arrived there before him and asked for her hand. It's the possibility of having a dream come true that makes life interesting, he thought. As he looked again at the position of the sun, he hurried his pace. He had suddenly remembered that in Tarifa there was an old woman who interprets dreams. The old woman led the boy to the room at the back of her house. It was separated from her living room by a curtain of colored breads. The room, the room's furnishing consisted of a table, an image of Sacred Heart of Jesus, and two chairs. The woman sat down and told him to be seated as well. Then they shook both of his hands in hers, and began quietly to pray. I will just put my laptop to charge, so give me around 1 minute so I can just put my laptop to charge and then we can continue. The woman sat down and told him to be seated as well. Then she took both of his hand in hers and began quietly to pray. It sounded like a gypsy prayer the boy had already experienced on the roads with gypsies. They also traveled, but they had no flocks of sheep. People said that gypsies spent their lives tricking others. It was also that they had a pact with the devil and they kidnapped children and taking them away to their mysterious camps, made their slaves. As a child, boy had always had been frightened to the death, and he would be captured by gypsies. And this childhood fear returned when the old woman took her hand in hers. But she had the sacred heart of Jesus there. He thought, trying to reassure himself. He did not want his hand to begin trembling, showing the old woman then he was fearful. He recited, and our father silently, very interesting, said the woman, never taking her eyes from the boy's hand, and then she felt silent. The boy was becoming nervous. His hand began to tremble, and the woman sensed it. He quickly pulled his hand away. I did not come here to have you here read my palm, he said, already regretting having come. He thought of a moment, and it would be better to pay her fee and leave without learning a thing. He was giving too much importance to his recurrent dream. You came so that you could learn about your dream, said the old woman, and the dreams are the language of God. When he speak in our language, I can interpret and what he has said. But if he speaks in the language of the soul, it's only you who can understand. But whichever it is, I am going to charge you for the consultation. Another trick, the boy thought, but he decided to take a chance. A shepherd always takes his chance with wolves and with draft, and that's what makes a shepherd life exciting. I have always had the same dream twice, he said. I dreamed that I was in a field with my sheep when a child appeared and began to play with the animals. I don't like people to do that because the sheep are afraid of strangers, but children always seem to be able to play with them without frightening them. I don't know why. I don't know how the animals know the age of human beings. Tell me more about your dream, said the woman. I have to get back to my cooking, and since you don't have much money, I can give you a lot of time. The child went on playing with the ship, and quite a while continued the boy, a bit upset, and suddenly the child took me by both hands and transported me to the Egyptian pyramid. He paused the moment to see if the woman knew what the Egyptian pyramids were, but she said nothing. Then at the Egyptian pyramid, he said the last three words slowly so that the old woman would understand. The child said to me, "If you come here, you will find his hidden treasure." And just as she about to was about to show me the exact location, I woke up both the times. The woman was silent for some time, then she again took his hand and studied them carefully. I'm not going to charge you anything now, she said, but I want one truth of treasure if you find it, 1/10 of treasure if you find it. The boy laughed out of happiness. He was going to be able to save the little money he had because of the dream about his hidden treasure. Well, interpret the dream, he said. First, swear to me. Swear that you will give me 1/10 of your treasure in exchange for what I am going to tell you. The shepherd swore that he would. The old woman asked him to swear again while looking at the image of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. It's a dream in the language of the world, she said. I can interpret it, but the interpretation is very difficult, and that's why I feel that I deserve the part of what you find. And this is my interpretation. You must go to the pyramids in Egypt, and I have never heard of them. But if it was a child who showed them to you, they exist there. You'll find a treasure that will make you a rich man. The boy was surprised and then irritated. He doesn't need to seek out the old woman for this, but then he remembered that he wasn't going to have to pay anything. I did not need to waste my time just for this, he said. I told you that your dream was difficult one. It's It's the simple thing in the life that are the most extraordinary. Only wise men are able to understand them. And since I'm not wise, I had to learn other arts such as reading of palms. Well, how how am I going to get to Egypt? I am only interpret them dreams. I only interpret dreams. I don't know how to turn them into reality. All and that's why I have to live off what my daughters provide me with. And if I never go to Egypt, then I don't get paid. I wouldn't be the it wouldn't be the first time. And the woman told the boy to leave, saying she had already wasted too much time on him. So the boy was disappointed. He decided that he would never again believe in dreams. He remembered that he had a number of things he had to take care of. He went to the market for something to eat. He traded his book for one that was thicker, and he found a bench in the plaza where he could sample the new wine he had brought. The day was hot and the wine was refreshing. The sheep were at the gates of the city in the stamble that belonged to the friend. The boy knew that lots of people in the city, that what made traveling appeal to him. He always made a new friend, and he did not need to spend all of his time with them. When someone sees the same people every day, as had happened with him at the seminary, they wind up becoming a part of personal life, and then they want the person to change. If someone isn't what the other want them to be, the other become angry. Everyone seems to have a clear idea of how other people should lead their lives, but none about his or her own. He decided to wait until the sun had sunk a bit lower in the sky before following his flock back through the fields. 3 days from now, he would be with the merchant daughter. He started to read the book he had brought. On very first page, it described the burial ceremony, and the names of the people involved were very difficult to pronounce. If he had wrote a book, he thought he would present one person at a time so that the reader won't have to worry about memorizing a lot of names. When he was finally able to concentrate on what he was reading, he liked the book better. A burial on the snowy day, and he welcomed the feeling of being cold. As he read on, an old man sat down at his side and tried to strike up a conversation. "What are they doing?" the old man asked, pointing at the people in the plaza. "Working," the boy answered dryly, making it look if he wanted to concentrate on his reading. Actually, he was thinking about shearing the sheep in front of the merchant daughter so that she could see that he was with someone who was capable of doing difficult things. He had already imagined the scene many times. Every time the girl became fascinated when he explained that the sheep has become had to be sheared from back to front. He also tried to remember some good stories to relate. He shared the sheep most of them had read in books, but he would tell them as if they were from his personal experience. She would never know the difference because she did not know how to read. Meanwhile, our man persisted in an attempt to strike up a conversation. He said he was tired and thirsty and asked if he might have a sip of the boy's wine. The boy offered his bottle, hoping that the old man would leave him alone. But the old man wanted to talk, and he asked the boy what book he is reading. The boy was tempted to be rude and move to another bench, but his father has taught him to be respectful of the elderly, so he held himself to the book of the man for two reasons. First, that he himself wasn't sure how to pronounce the title, and second, that if the old man did not know how to read, he would probably feel ashamed and decide his own accord to change the benches. "Hmm," said the old man, looking at all sides of the book as if were some strange object. "This is an important book, but it's really irritating." The boy was shocked. The old man knew how to read and had already read the book, and if the book was irritating, the old man has said, the boy still had time to change it for other. It It's the book that says the same thing almost all the other books in the world say. Continued the old man. It describes the people inability to choose their own personal legends, and it ends up saying that everyone believes the world's greatest lie. What's the world's greatest lie? The boy asked, completely surprised. It's this that at a certain point in our lives we lose control of what's happening to us, and life becomes controlled by faith. That's the world's greatest lie. That never happened to me, the boy said. They wanted me to be a priest, but I decided to become a shepherd. Much better, said the old man, because you really like to travel. He knew what I was thinking, the boy said to himself. The old man, meanwhile, was leafing through the book without seeming to want to return it at all. The boy noticed the man's clothing was strange. He looked like an Arab, which was not unusual in those parts. Africa was only few hours from Tafi, Taraf, Tarifa, and one had only to cross narrow streets by boat. Arab often appeared in the city, shopping, the chanting strange prayers several times a day. Where are you from? The boy asked. From many places. No one can be from many places, the boy said. I am a shepherd and I have been to many places, but I come from only one place, from a city near the ancient castle. That's where I was born. Well, then we could say that I was born in Salim. The boy did not know where the Salim was, but he did not want to ask, fearing that he would appear arrogant. He looked at the people in the plaza for a while. They were coming and going. All of them seemed to be very busy. So what's Salim like? He asked, trying to get some sort of clue. It's like it always has been. No clue yet, but he knew that Salim wasn't in Andalusia. It If it were, he would already have heard it. And what do you do in Salim? He insisted. What do I do in Salim? The old man laughed. Well, I am the king of Salim. People say strange things, the boy thought. Sometimes it's better to be with the sheep who doesn't say anything, and better still to be alone with one books. They say incredible stories at the time when you want to hear them, but when you're talking to people, they say some things that are strange that you don't know how to continue the conversation. My name is Michelin Melchizedek, said the old man. How many sheep do you have? Enough, said the boy. He could see that the old man wanted to know more about his life. Well, then, you have got a problem. I can help you if you feel you have got enough sheep. The boy was getting irritated. He wasn't asking for help. It was old man who had asked for a drink of his wine, and then he started the conversation. Give me the book, the boy said. I have to go and gather my sheep and get going. Give me 1/10 of your sheep, said the old man, and I'll tell you how to find the hidden treasure. The boy remembered his dream, and suddenly everything was clear to him. Old woman hadn't charged him anything but the old man. Maybe he was her husband. He was going to find a way to get much more money in exchange for the information about something that doesn't even exist. The old man was probably a gypsy too. But before the boy could say anything, the old man leaned over, picked up his stick, and began to write in the sand of plaza. Something bright reflected from his chest in such intensity that the boy was momentarily blinded. With the moment that was too quick for someone his age, the man covered whatever it was with escape. When his vision returned to normal, the boy was able to read what the old man had written in the sand. There, in the sand of plaza of the small city, the boy reads the name of his father and his mother and the name of the cemetery he had attended. He read the name of the merchant's daughter and he hadn't even known, and he read the things that he had never told anyone. I am the king of Salem, the old man had said. Why would "A king be asking with a shepherd," the boy asked, awed and embarrassed for several reasons. "But let's say that the most important thing you think is that you have to succeed in discovering your personal legend." The boy did not know what a personal legend was. It was it's it's what you have always wanted to accomplish. Everyone, when they are young, knows what their personal legend is. At this point in this life, everything is clear and everything is possible. They are not afraid to dream and to yearn for everything they would like to see happen to them in their lives. But as the time passes, mysterious force began to convince them that it will be impossible for them to realize their personal legend. None of what the old man was saying made much sense to the boy, but he wanted to know what a mysterious force was. The merchant's daughter would be impressed when he told about that. "It's a force that appears to be negative but actually shows you how to realize your personal legend. It prepares you to sprint and your will, because there is one great truth on this planet: whoever you are, or whatever it is that you do, when you really want something, it's because that the desire originated in the soul of the universe. It's your mission on the earth. Even when all of you want to do is travel one or marry the daughter of the textile merchant. Yes, even in the search of treasure, the soul of the world is nourished by people's happiness and also by unhappiness, envy, and jealousy. To realize one's personal legend is a person's only real obligation. All things are done. And what do you want? And when do you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. They were both silent for a time, observing the plaza and the townspeople. It was the old man who spoke first. Why do you tend a flock of sheep?" "Hmm, because I like to travel." The old man pointed a baker standing in the shop of a window in one corner of the plaza. "When he was a child, that man wanted to travel too, but he decided first to buy his bakery and put some money aside. When he would be old man, he was going to spend month in Africa. He never realized that people are capable and at any time in their lives of doing what they dream of. He should have decided to become a shepherd," the boy said. "Well, he thought about that," the old man said, "but bakers are most important people then. Shepherds baker have homes while the shepherds sleep on the open. Parents would rather see their children to marry bakers than a shepherd." The boy felt pang in his heart, thinking about the merchant's daughter. There was surely a baker in the town. The old man continued, "In the long run, what people think about shepherds and bakers become more important than for them their personal legends." The old man leafed through the book and fell to the reading a page. He came to the boy, waited, and then interrupted the old man just as he himself had begun. Interrupted, "Why are you telling me all this?" "Because you are trying to realize your personal legend, and you are the point where you are about to give it all up. And now that's when you always appear on the scene." "No, not always in this way, but I always appear in one form or another. Sometimes I appear in the form of solution or a good idea. At other times, at the crucial moment, I make it easier for things to happen. There are other things I do, but most of the time I don't realize I have done them." The old man related that the week before he had been forced to appear before a miner. He had taken the form of a stone. The miner had abandoned everything to go mining for emeralds. For 5 years he had been working on a certain river. He had examined hundreds and thousands of stones looking for an emerald. The miner was about to give it all up right the point when he were able to examine just one more stone, just one more, and he would find his emerald. Since the miner has sacrificed everything to his personal legend, the old man decided to become involved. He transformed himself into a stone that rolled up to the miner, put the miner, with all his anger and frustration of the 5 fruitless years, picked up a stone and threw it aside. But he had thrown it with such a force that it broke the stone it fell upon, and there embedded a broken stone and the most beautiful emerald in the world. People learn early in their lives that what's the reason for being, said the old man with a certain bitterness. Maybe that's why they give up on it so early, but that's why it's us. The boy reminded the old man that he had said something about his hidden treasure. Treasure is uncovered by the force of flowing water and it's buried by the same current, said the old man. If you want to learn about your own treasure, you will have to give me 1/10 of your flock. What's about 1/10 of my treasure? The old man looked disappointed. If you start by promising what you don't even have yet, you will lose by the desire to work toward getting it. The boy told him that he had already promised to give 1/10 of his treasure to Gypsy. Gypsies are expert at getting people do that. Shied the old man. In any case, it's good that you have learned that everything in life has a price. This is what the warriors of the light try to teach. The old man returned this book to the boy. Tomorrow at the same time, bring me 1/10 of your flock, and I'll tell you how to find your hidden treasure. Good afternoon. And he vanished around the corner of the plaza. The boy began again to read his book, but he was no longer able to concentrate. He was tensed and upset because he knew that the old man was right. He went over to the bakery and brought a loaf of bread, thinking about whether or not he should tell the baker what the old man has said about him. Sometimes it's better to leave things as they are. He thought of himself and decided to say nothing. If he were to say anything, the baker would spend these days thinking about giving it all up. Even though he had gotten used to the way things were, the boy could certainly resist causing that kind of an anxiety for the baker. So he began to wander through the city and found himself at the grass. There was some building there with a window at which people bought tickets to Africa, and he knew that Egypt was in Africa. Can I help you? Asked the man behind the window. Maybe tomorrow, the boy said, moving away. If he sold just one of his ship, he would have enough to get the other shore of the strait. The idea frightened him. Another dreamer, he said the ticket seller to his assistant, watching the boy walk away. He did not have enough money to travel. While standing at the ticket window, the boy had remembered his flock and decided he should go back. Being a shepherd in 2 years, he had learned everything about shepherding. He knew how to shear a sheep, how to care for pregnant ewes, how to protect the sheep from the wolves and all. He knew all the fields and pastures of Andalusia, and he knew what the fair price for each one of his animals. He decided to return to his friend's stable by the longest route possible. As he walked past the city castle, he was interrupted in return and climbed the stone ramp and led to the top of the wall. From there, he could see the Africa in the distance. Someone had once told him that it was from there that the Moors had come to occupy all the Spain. He could see almost the entire city from where he sat, including the plaza where he had talked with the old man. Cursed the moment I met the old man. He thought he had come to the town only to find the woman who would interpret his dream. Neither the woman nor the old man was at all impressed by the fact that he was a shepherd. There was solitary individuals who no longer believed in the thing and did not understand the shepherd become attached to the sheep. He knew everything about each member of the flock. He knew which ones to lame, which ones to give birth in 2 months from now, and which ones were the laziest. He knew how to shear them and how to slaughter them. He knew even if he ever decided to leave them, they would suffer. The wind began to pick up. He knew that the wind people called it a lavender because on it the moons had come from the Levant and the eastern end of the Mediterranean. The lavender increased in intensity. Here I am between my flock and my trees, and my boy thought he had to choose between something he had become accustomed and something he wanted to have. There was also a merchant daughter, but she wasn't important as his flock because she did not depend on him. Maybe she did not even remember him. He was sure that it made no difference to her on the on which he appeared. Every day was the same, and when each day is the same as the next, it's because people fail to recognize the good things that happen in their lives every day that the sun rises. I left my father, my mother, and the town castle behind. They have gotten used to my being away. So have I. The sheep will be used to not being there too. The boy thought from where he sat, he could observe the plaza. People continued to come and go from the baker's shop. A young couple sat to the bench and where he had talked with the old man and the kissed the baker. He said to himself without completing the thought the lavender was still going stronger and he felt the force on his face. The wind had brought to the moors, yes, but it had been brought to the smell of the desert and the veiled woman. It had brought with it the sweat of the dreams and the men who had once left to search the unknown for the gold and the adventure. And for pyramids, the boy felt jealous and the freedom of the wind and saw that he would have the same freedom. There was nothing to hold him back except himself, the sheep, the merchant daughter, and the fields of Andalusia where only sheep steps along the way to his personal legend. The next day, the boy met the old man at the noon. Then he brought 6 sheep with him. I'm surprised, the boy said. My friend bought all the other sheep immediately. He said that he had a dream of being a shepherd and that it was a good omen. That's the way it's always is, said the old man. If it's called the principle of favorability, when you play cards the first time they are motion, you are almost sure to win. Beginner's luck. Why is that? Because there is a force that you want to realize your personal legend. It's when you are your appetite with the taste of success. Then the old man began to inspect the sheep and he saw one was lame. The boy explained that it wasn't important since the sheep was the most intelligent of the flock and produced most wool. Where is the treasure? He asked. It's in Egypt near the pyramids. The boy was startled. The old woman said the same thing, but he hadn't charged me anything. In order to find the treasure, you will have to follow the omens. God has prepared a path for everyone to follow. You have to read the omens that he left for you. Before the boy could reply, the butterfly appeared and fluttered between him and the old man. He remembered something his grandfather had once told him, that the butterflies were a good omen like crickets. Grasshoppers like lizard and four-leaved clovers. That's right, said the old man, able to read. The boy thought, just as the grandmother taught you, these are good omens. The old man opened his cape, and the boy was struck by what he saw. The old man wore a breastplate of heavy gold covered with precious stones, and the boy recalled the brilliance he had noticed the previous day. He really was a king, he must be disguised to avoid encounter with thieves. Take these, said the old man, holding a white stone and a black stone he had been embedded at the center of the breastplate. They are called Urim and Thummim. The black signifies yes and the white signifies no. You are unable to read the omens, they will help you do so. Always ask an objective question, but if you can, try to make your own decision. The treasures is at the pyramids that you already know, but I have to insist on the payment of 60 because I helped you to make your decision. The boy puts the stone in his pouch. From then on, he would make his own decision. Don't forget that everything you deal with is only one thing and nothing else. And if it doesn't forget the language of and if don't forget the language of omens. All and above all, don't forget to follow your personal legend through its conclusion. But before I go, I want to tell you a little story. A certain shopkeeper sent his son to learn about the secret of happiness from the wisest man in the world. The lad wandered through the desert of 40 days and finally came upon a beautiful castle high atop mountain. It was there as the wise man lived. Rather than finding a saintly man, through our hero entering the main room of castle saw an hive of activity. Tradesmen come and went. People were conversing in all the corners. A small orchestra was playing soft music, and there was a table covered with platters of the most delicious food in the part of the world in that parts of the world. The wise man conversed with everyone that the boy had to wait for 2 hours before it was his turn to be given a man attention. The wise man has listened attentively to the boy's explanation and why he had come, but told him that he did not have the time when time just then to explain the secret of happiness. He suggested that the boy look around the place and return in 2 hours. Meanwhile, I wanted to ask you to do something, said the wise man, handling the boy a teaspoon that he held two drops of oil. As you wander around, carry the spoon with you without allowing the oil to spill. The boy began climbing and descending the many stairways of the place, keeping his eyes fixed on the spoon. After 2 hours, he returned to the room where the wise man was. Well, asked the wise man, did you see the Persian tapestries that are hanging in my dining hall? Did you see the garden that it took to master the gardener 10 years to create? Did you notice the beautiful parchments in my library? The boy was embarrassed and confused, confessed that he had observed nothing. The only concern had been not to spill the oil, and that wise man had entrusted to him. Then go back and observe the marvels of my world, said the wise man. You cannot trust a man if you don't know his house. Relieved, the boy picked up the spoon and returned to the exploration of the place. In this time, observing all the works of art on the ceiling and the wall, he saw the gardens, the mountains all around him, the beauty of the flowers, and the taste of which everything had been selected. Upon returning, the wise man he related details of everything he had seen. But where is the drops of oil I entrusted to you? Looking down the spoon he held, the boy saw the oil was gone. Well, there is only one piece of advice I can give you, said the wisest of wise men. The secret of happiness is to see all the marvels of the world and never forget the drops of oil on this spoon. The shepherd said nothing. He has understood. He has understood the story of the old king. He had told him a shepherd may like to travel, but he should never forget about his ship. The old man at the boy and said, and looked at the boy and with his hand held together made several strange gestures over the boy's head. Then taking the sheep, he walked away. At the highest point in Tarifa, there is an old fort built by the Moors from atop its walls. Once one can catch a glimpse of Africa. Melchizedek, the king of Salem, sat on the wall of the fort of the afternoon and felt the levant blowing in his face. The sheep, frightened nearby, uneasy with the new owner and excited by so much change, all they wanted was food and water. Melchizedek, Melchizedek watched the small sheep from the plowing. It was it way out of the pond. He would never again see the boy, just he had never seen Abraham after having charged him once 10th fee. That was his work. The god should have had the god should not have desires because they don't have personal legends. But the king of Shalem hoped desperately that the boy would be successful, and it to have and it's too bad that he quickly going to forget my name. He thought I should have repeated it for him. Then when he spoke about me, he would say that I am Melchizedek, the king of Salem. He looked at the skies, feeling a bit abashed, and said, I know it's the vanity when it's and you said, my lord, but the old king sometimes has to take some pride in himself. How strange Africa is, thought the boy. It was sitting in the bar very much like the other bars he had seen along the narrow streets of Tangier. Some men were smoking the gigantic pipe they passed from one to another in few hours. In few hours he had seen men walking hand in hand, women with their faces covered, and the priests that climbed to his tops of towers and chanted as everyone about him went to their knees and placed their foreheads on the ground. A practice of infields, he said to himself. As a child in a church, he had always looked at the image of Saint Santiago Matamoros on his white horse, his sword unsheathed, and figures such as these kneeling at the feet. The boy felt ill and terribly alone. The infields had an evil look about them. Beside this, in the rush of his travels, he had forgotten a detail, just one detail, which could keep him from his treasure for a long time. Only Arabic was spoken in his country. The owner of the bar approached him, and the boy pointed to drink that has been served on the next table. It turned out to be a bitter tea. The boy preferred wine, but he did not need to worry about that right now. What he had to be concerned was his treasure and how he's going to go about getting it. The sale of his sheep has left him with enough money on his pouch, and the boy knew that in the money there was magic. Whoever has the money, never really alone. Before long, maybe in just a few days, he would be able to be at the pyramids. An old man with a breastplate of gold wouldn't have just lied just to acquire sheeps. The old man had spoken about signs and omens, and as the boy was crossing the Saint Strait, he had thought about omens. Yes, the old man had known what he was talking about during the time the boy had spent in the field of Andalusia. He had become used to learning which path he should take by observing the ground and the sky. He had discovered that the presence of a certain bird means that the snake was nearby, and the certain shrub was a sign that there was water in the area. The sheep had taught him that if the God if God leads the sheep so well, he will also lead the man. he thought, and then he made him feel better. The tea seemed less bitter. "Who are you?" he heard a voice ask him in Spanish. The boy was relieved. He was talking about omens and someone had appeared. "How come you speak Spanish?" he said. The new arrival was a young man in Western dress. The boy, but the color of his skin suggested that he was from the city. He was about the same age and the height of the boy. "Almost everyone here speaks Spanish. We are only 2 hours from Spain. Sit down and let me treat you something," said the boy, "and ask the glass of wine for me. I hate this tea. There is no wine in this country." The young man said, "The religion here forbids it." So I think for today I'm done. I won't be able to read. My neck is paining. I have continuously read from last 1 hour. So I'll make a note of. I'll try to add a bookmark over here. So I will start reading again. So I made few notices while I was reading. While I was reading, I observed that I'm not able to understand some of the lines, and I was just continuously reading. So for now it's just the starting, like I'm not focusing on understanding the things, understanding each and every line, but this is what my observation so far was. Also while reading, I noticed that my mind was getting diverted something else, about something else, or a story of what I will do and how much time is left. So these are the basic things which I noticed. I will next time I will update. Next time I'll fix for sure. And also, like while reading, I wanted to some of the words I mispronounced. For example, if you see in the name of the king, the name of the king I was not able to pronounce properly. The name of the place where this boy was from, I was not able to pronounce properly. So there were few of the pronunciations mispronunciation mistake was also there, but I think this will go gradually by the time. So for now I think the video is more than 1 hour to 2 minutes. So I'll upload this video, and most probably I will continue reading the book. I will complete this whole book in a series, and then we'll move on to the another book. I hope you guys liked. I know it will be very boring for you to start to follow me along from complete like follow me along for complete 1 hour. But yeah, but I just want to, this is for my reference, and maybe it will give you a confidence that how you can, if I am able to do it, how you can also achieve the same results after doing this. So you can refer this as a science experiment or something like that. So you can relate of what a person from the starting he was and what he has become by the end of the day. Thank you everyone for coming to this video or for listening me so far. Even if you have not listened me to 1 hour exact, but even if you have listened to me for 10-15 seconds, I am really grateful that you have come to this video and you have seen a little bit of what I am trying to achieve. It gives me immense pleasure to get any subscribers or uh, see that the videos which I am preparing, the views are coming. For the better voice quality, I have turned off the fan today, so I am feeling a little bit hot, and I have been continuously speaking for last 1 hour. So I want to thank you once again to everyone, and have a good day, good night, bye.